mystery and horror, the air itself is filled with monsters.
Children of the night, what music they make. He's alive! He's alive!
Well, hello, all you monster fiends, and thank you for joining us for another deep dive factoid-filled episode exploring Hollywood's most famous monsters. I am your mistress of ceremony, Sam, and I am joined, as always, by Dan from Bleeding Marvelous. Say hello, Dan.
Hello, Sydney.
Oh, she giving away the episode before we even start. Actually, we gave it away last week when we said we're doing Ghostface.
I think I might have done it. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe all the promo work that Paul's been doing for us might have given it away. Maybe my t-shirt. We don't know. We just don't know. We're doing Ghostface today. I'm very excited. Dan's very excited.
Stuff. I know stuff.
And things.
And things.
Stuff and things. You know, the Rick, what's his face from Walking Dead's famous saying. Carl. Can't even get his name out. That's a bit of a disgrace. Right. We'll get the disclaimer out the way with, and then we will get on in to La Ghostface. I don't think my northern accent quite can pull off. Can I do Ghostface? Oh yeah, I can actually. I can do it that bit. So, everything discussed in today's episode is our opinions and our opinions alone. If you'd like to discuss anything from today's episode, please come and join us on the Facebook page, Discord, or the comment section where we can have an open discussion. What we won't have, though, is anyone coming for us and telling us our opinions are wrong. We can all agree to disagree in fandom. So let's keep it fun, keep it kind, and keep the toxic behaviour out of a nerdism. Dan?
Don't be a dick.
It's pretty simple. Okay, so Ghostface is the fictional identity that is adapted by the primary antagonist of the Scream franchise, created by the great Kevin Williamson and voiced by Roger L. Jackson. The character is seen across 6 movies and a TV series. So Dan, what's your favourite scary movie?
Showgirls.
Monsters of
Day, I will always answer that because Randy set that one up, you know, in Scream 2, and that has stayed with me for my entire viewership.
He's not wrong. But Monsters Up North brings you Ghostface, not to be mistaken with Ghostfaces from Supernatural.
Yeah,
Ghostfaces. Yeah, Ghostface. So, starts in 1986.
Correct.
However, before we get into all of that, I want to put everyone out of the misery, because I don't know if anyone else feels the way that we do about a kill count, but we may have another contender for kill count champ. Actually, we don't, because he doesn't come anywhere close to the main 2 at the moment.
No, but
no,
he's relatively high if we're roughly in the same ballpark.
Do you know what? I think he's on par with Jigsaw.
Yeah, somewhere I think, yeah, roughly.
Yeah. So from 13 ghost faces, 45 kills.
Yes, I've got exactly the same.
Boom. However, the award tonight goes to Roman Bridger for the highest kill count of 9. Bear in mind, Roman is the only Ghostface to be singular in the entire movie. So he is the kill count champ of singularity.
Yes.
With 9. Only in the Scream franchise. Couldn't really tell you on any other film, but yes, Roman Bridger is the highest kill count of the Scream franchise.
Well,
but yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that one.
Yes. So, where do you want to start? Because there's a lot to devour when it comes to Le Ghostface. I need to stop calling him that. He's not French.
I think for me, we'll start at the beginning. I mean, when this film came out, I was 16, so I was old enough to
know better,
want to watch it, but realised I couldn't because it was an 18. So I had to wait for video for this to come out. Great for
I had to wait for the dodgy man in the white van to come round and give me a copy of this. I don't know how this fell into our laps. It was my girlfriends, my oldest friends from around the corner. I say around the corner. I literally live in the street I grew up in, so just round the corner, and we congregated. It was Christmas.
It came out the week before Christmas.
Yeah, Scream is a Christmas movie. It was around Christmas, and we congregated in my friend's house and we watched Scream. It was a dodgy copy, but a very dodgy copy. And we then played a prank on my very naive and gullible friend who must have clearly forgotten the last few hours because she got a phone call at home saying, "What's your favorite scary movie?" And she freaked the fuck out to the point where her mother nearly called the police.
Oh,
That is
wow.
that is a true story. Yeah, so 1996, Scream busts on through.
Yeah, I mean, I came from a Dawson's Creek era. I wasn't like obsessed with it, but I watched it on from time to time.
Apparently I was.
So I knew of Dawson's Creek. So that was my knowledge of Kevin Williamson. That's all I knew him for. Wes Craven also I knew of.
Yeah.
Let's not be silly here. The Nightmare on Elm Street is what Wes is mostly famous for. So,
and one of the greatest films ever made, People Under the Stairs.
Yeah, he's had a huge history, Wes, but like when I heard that the writer of Dawson's Creek Wes Craven were getting together to write a film, I was like,
what the fuck?
I don't know how that's gonna work. And then obviously it goes on to Kevin Williamson goes on to do like I Know What You Did Last Summer, Vampire Diaries. He actually did The Faculty as well. So the guy knows how to write for a teen drama, teen horror.
He knows his audience.
Yeah.
And he just came in at such a marvelous time in horror because the slasher, I mean, we've been through this countless times, but the slasher genre was on its arse.
Yes,
absolutely on its arse. And he brought such fresh air and life back into it that years down the line they managed to do it again. But this was the starting point of the teen slasher and like the teen of the 90s as well.
I think the thing about this was as well, it was actually done as a satire piece.
Yeah.
Kevin and Wes got together and went, right, what haven't we seen a lot of, but is a trope that's like dead. Do you know what I mean? Like in 96, the slashers had fallen, they'd gone. They were no longer, in favor. It wasn't quite the gore fests of Hostel and all that yet, but we were sort of in this drought of horror movies that were based on
Jason going to space and shit like that.
You got to a point where you were just having same old things churned out, and it was tired. And so they thought, right, okay, let's have a look at what worked. So they chose a mask. So the whole gist of it is it's a big piss take of Halloween. It's all based off Halloween in some way or another when you start looking into it. The mask itself is actually not called Scream after the Scream picture.
Nope.
The artwork is actually the suit was called Father Death.
It was so the first person to actually name the mask Ghostface is Tatum. Tatum says Ghostface, but the costume package says Father Death on it. The original concept art for the robes. This tickled my funny bone slightly because I would just wonder how long it is before they actually went, shit, we can't use that. It was going to be white with a white hood.
I've just tweeted. Yeah, not good. No.
Yeah, no. Who had to sit and draw that to be then go, hang on a minute.
How many times can we put the letter K in that sentence? Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, so it was distasteful is probably the best word for it, but yes, the original idea was going to be white with I don't want to say a black face because I can't initially see them doing it with a white mask and white robe. I don't even know if the mask had even been brought in at that point, but the robes were going to be white with a white hood. Yeah, no. So, yeah.
Yeah, nah.
Yeah.
They tend to use a lot of the tropes that not tropes, but a lot of things from the original Halloween. So you've got obviously when Drew Barrymore's character Casey Becker is killed, the dad says to the mum, go down the road to the Mackenzies. That's used in Halloween.
Yeah, that's what she says to Kyle, what's that face's character?
Yeah,
Go down the road to Mackenzie's.
Yeah.
You've done it, Eva.
And then obviously you got the Loomis connection because you've got Billy Loomis, the main antagonist in this one, and you've got Dr. Loomis from Halloween, and also Psycho. You've got Loomis because he was a big Hitchcock fan as well. So you've got a lot of nods to a lot of things in here. You've also got you got hints like the top that Tatum wears is a nod to Johnny Depp's character in Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, same
way.
Yes.
You've got obviously Wes Craven's cameo.
Okay. So there's two Wes Craven. There is two Wes Craven I can't even say cameo. So you've got the one we all know about with the Freddy and the hat. Did you know the first time you see Ghostface on screen, that is Wes Craven?
Really? I didn't know
that. Yes. The two actors who play Stu and Billy, and their names have just completely slipped my mind. We've literally just been talking about them. Thank you. Yes, yeah. Matt. Yes, they are not in the Scream outfit at all. Apart from Stu is in it right at the end.
When they do the reveal things.
There's one stage where Stu's in it, and it's only because Matthew Lillard begged and pleaded to be in the actual scene in the costume that didn't require him to do any stunts or have anything thrown at them.
Yeah.
But yes, the first image that you see of Ghostface standing, I think it's when she comes face to face with him in the door, which again is Halloween. It's Wes Craven. How fucking amazing is that?
That's crazy. I mean, you've got so many weird things. Like the sheriff from the first one is the sheriff in Nightmare on Elm Street. There's a scene where Billy climbs through Sydney's window and he's saying, you know, about the Exorcist speech.
This fucking line is horrific.
But that's a nod to Johnny Depp climbing through Nancy's window in Nightmare on Elm Street. Pretty much the same setup. The Exorcist then leads to the fact that Linda Blair did a cameo as a reporter in it.
We have a right to know. They need a right to know.
And then you've got like, there's just, yeah. I mean, one of the biggest things about the first Scream movie was that two killers was a new idea.
Yeah,
it hadn't been seen. It wasn't a trope. It wasn't a thing. It was like a wow. There's two of them. You know, it was a real surprise when it happened. But I did find out they used 50 gallons of blood in that end scene.
Oh shit!
Yeah, Howard Berger, who was part of the Robert Kurzman, Greg Nicotero set up. The three of them had their own movie special effects place. He was the one who did all the special effects on screen, the first Scream, and he said it was the most blood he'd ever made up until that point because they didn't know it was going to get that, like, it wasn't gory, it was just more visceral. You don't see the wounds because you see jumpers, so you see them get stabbed, but you don't see a great, you know, a gaping hole or anything. You just see like blood coming through the jumper and stuff. But
I've just made myself go funny doing that.
Now, unfortunately, this movie does have a little bit of a cloud around it because it was a Weinstein number, and Bob, whilst Bob's not the problem brother, Bob was also.
But Bob is still a fucking problem.
Bob was a problem. He hated the mask. He insisted they change the mask for something else. He said it wouldn't work, blah, blah, blah. Hate it. So Wes and Kevin turned around. Kevin and Bob did not get on.
Good for Kevin, because he's a dick.
4 movies, did not get on. Bob kept hiring other screenwriters to rewrite scenes and step on Kevin's toes. So that's why after 4, Kevin hasn't had anything to do with
That is such a
6.
goddamn shame, given that they have fuck all to do with that company anymore.
He gets executive producer credits, I think, on 5 and 6, but he's had nothing to do with 5 or 6 because he said he won't have anything to do with the Weinsteins. But they begged him to let them film the opening sequence with Drew Barrymore, who was originally up for the part of Sydney, but she turned it down. She said she'd rather play something that was a bit more interesting. And to her, the fact that they showed, it was one of the very first times, other than Psycho, that they killed off who you thought was going to be the main star at that point.
Well, Drew Barrymore was on a trail. She was on the comeback. She was, you know, the golden child of Hollywood at that time, and she is in every poster that you see. She is in the main cast, so you do assume that Drew Barrymore is going to be your main star, and for them to do her like that in the first scene, I must admit, is actually a bit more horrific than Psycho, because Psycho, you get a build-up, you get Marian's backstory, you get the fact that she's, you know, she's not really a nice person.
Thieving woman.
But no, she's not a bitch. I would never say that about her. But yeah, she's not a great person, and you get to see that car journey feels like a fucking lifetime, where she's playing out every scenario in her head of what's actually happening after she's stolen this money. So you get some time with her.
Yeah.
You don't get a lot of time with Casey's character.
No, you only get her answers to the questions. And there is one bit where she's asked if she has a boyfriend. She says no. So you're like,
you little flirt, you little.
So Steve meant nothing until he sat on your lanai. The Van Golden Girls there. But he sat on your porch. And it was one of those things. Do you know what? I was the kid that cut out all the really weird pictures from Empire magazine when that came out, and all my books that's for college at that point, because I left school 16. So yeah, college they were all covered in pictures from Scream, like Steve on the sitting in the chair with the gag on. That was on one of my school books. Yes, I'm surprised no one got called, to be honest.
Yeah.
Did you know Mr. David Arquette was originally cast as Billy Loomis?
Fuck off. I did not know that. Oh my God. I love David Arquette, but I cannot see him pulling off that.
No, I think because we're so used to knowing him as Dewey, it's hard for us to see him as because you see him in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the movie with Kirsten Swanson and Luke Perry, and he plays Benny in that, if I remember rightly.
He does. I fucking love that film.
He's a bit of a dick in that. So I think he could do it, but we're so used to him being lovely. You know what I mean? Our brain goes, I
know. I think I saw him in Buffy first, and then he was in an episode of Friends.
Yeah.
Where he played Ursula Stalker. But David Arquette is so high on my heartstrings because of one movie in particular. You'd think it's Scream, and Scream plays a second fiddle to this movie. It's Ready to Rumble.
I thought you were saying Never Been Kissed. I was going to go, what?
It's Ready to Rumble. I fucking adore that movie so much. It is so stupid. It is so brilliantly stupid, but I just fucking love it. I love him in it, but I can't see him as a Billy.
I think as well, if anybody's ever watched the documentary, David Arquette documentary that he did, is a movie. I can't remember for the life of me the name of it, but it's the one that follows him through his wrestling career.
Yeah.
He stopped acting, and I have to say that opened my eyes up to a whole nother side of him that you don't see. So you see him playing the heel, you see him playing all the different sides of the characters, you see him get stabbed in the neck with the light and then nearly die. There's so many different things you see, and you see how this guy has put his body through stuff, and you can see how he's exhausted. So I have a newfound respect for David Arquette. So when I met him,
I fucking knew you were going to come out with that next.
Not him, not last year before. He was one of the nicest blokes, and he just looked exhausted, though. I will say that. And I'll get it out of the way. I've met Neve Campbell, I've met Skeet Ulrich, and I've met Matt Lillard. So there we go. I've got them out of the way. But I'm getting Rose McGowan at Aberdeen. and then it's just Jamie Kennedy and Courtney Cox. She'll be my unicorn. I will never get her.
She
But,
is your Jamie Lee Curtis. She
Yeah.
is, yeah, it's
to
gonna be a
complete the
hard
set.
push.
To
Yeah.
complete the set, she's the
It's gonna
unicorn.
be a hard push. Did you know that David Arquette is actually a puppeteer as well?
Did you know he's a certified Bob Ross painter?
Fuck off.
I found this out today and I was like, what the fuck? It turns out that he's a certified instructor to teach people how to paint like Bob Ross.
Didn't Bob Ross just paint with numbers?
Bob,
Or am I
Bob
making
Ross
that up?
was Pretty Little Happy Tree and
Oh, that's
Sky.
right.
And basically he taught all the guys on set in between their takes on the first movie how to paint Bob Ross.
That is so cool. But yeah, I learned he's done a few episodes on Tales from the Boo Crew. Great podcast. They get some amazing, I mean, they've done 3 episodes with who's our favorite long-haired oh my god, why can't I think of his name? Oh, help us out. House of a Thousand Corpses.
Oh, Bill Moseley.
Bill Moseley. Did it. Got it. Oh, my brain can be satisfied now. Shut up.
Twice.
He's at Phil Horror this year, isn't he?
He is, yes. Highly recommend going and meeting him because he's
Who got our ticket the other day? What was I saying? I got way too excited there.
Bill Moseley.
Oh yeah, 3 episodes of Bill Moseley where you learn the most fascinating fucking shit about him. That he's like a metal singer and he works with Phil Anselmo, and it's so good. Anyways, this podcast, Ghostface.
Well, did you know also that Courtney Cox was not the first considered for the part of Gail Weathers?
Yes,
Brooke
I did.
Shields.
Oh, that is such a bad choice.
That would have not worked well, in my opinion. I think we were also used to seeing Monica.
Well, that's why she wanted to do it.
Yeah, Gail was so far removed from a neurotic OCD Monica.
Yeah.
Gail was like bitchy and independent and very.
She was
ruthless.
very much. Well, she was very much in the height of Friends fame at that time, and all she wanted to do was kind of. And it's such a smart move on like Courtney Cox's behalf is that she went, yeah, I want to play the bitch. I want to play something different because I am literally going to be typecast for the rest of my life if I don't do something different.
Yeah.
And she is such a good character actress. Whatever she's, I mean, Jules I do love her as Monica in Friends, possibly because I can relate so much to the OCD side of life. But her character in Cougar Town, that is some of the funniest shit that woman has ever done.
I highly recommend Shining Vale if anyone gets a chance to watch that. It's on one of them on Amazon, and she plays a writer on that, and it's like a supernatural type thing, and you have to watch it to understand what's going on. But she plays, and when I say neurotic, I mean she thinks she's losing it, but she's not, kind of thing, and it is quite amusing to watch. But I highly recommend Shining Vale. It's got season 2's just come out, which I still haven't had time to watch. But
that's interesting. Go on her TikTok. Her TikToks are hilarious, especially with the Scream promos she did for just on her own TikTok. They were so funny. The woman does have really good comedic chops, but she also has a really good bitchy side to her as well.
I saw the video she did where they all had the pictures of her short fringed face on the t-shirts from 3 with that dodgy fringe.
fringe.
And everybody was walking around with the t-shirts on, and she's just looking at everybody in her house going,
what's going on? And then does somebody have the Monica hair? The big frizz Monica hair?
I thought to myself, wow, okay, she's got a bit more personality than I'd anticipated. And I don't know why, I just thought she was very bland, but
she's not.
She's
very good at taking the piss out of herself. Do you want to know who killed who?
Yeah.
Or do you already know who killed who?
Well, yes and no, but no, we'll go for it. You tell me what you've got.
And then you can tell me if I'm wrong. All right. Okay. So Casey and Steve, your first 2 victims.
Yeah.
Stu.
Right.
And the reasoning behind it was that they make a big point about vengeance, and this is Stu's vengeance. Casey chose
him. Yeah.
Casey chose Steve over him, and he was incredibly jealous. Yeah. Principal Himbry.
Oh, poor Henry Winkler. I tweeted him once. He
Stu.
tweeted me back.
He tweeted you.
Did, yeah. This was years and years ago when Twitter was relatively fresh. I put something along the lines of, you just at somebody, and I added it in him, and I put Henry Winkler. I've just found out Henry Winkler is on Twitter, one of the nicest people in the whole entire world. And he tweeted me back and says, it was something along the lines of, that's really nice of you. Back at you. I bet you're lovely too, or something along the lines of that. I've got it somewhere.
The
And it
fonts.
made my life. I mean, I've got a jacket out the back. Rob bought it for me, and it's signed by Henry Winkler, and it's one of his Fonz jackets, and it's all mounted in a great big display cabinet. And it's like, Happy Days was huge for me. I absolutely loved it when I was growing up. So
it was quite a staple of mine. I would even go to say I would watch it now. It is so my aesthetic. I love the 50s era, so it's very much like, oh, love this. My first ever ad work that I got when I used to do YouTube in the day was a mug company, which is so fucking ideal for me. And the company was add your favorite tweets to a mug.
I should have done it.
Yeah, and I had to pick my favorite tweet, and they put it on a mug for me, and I got it, and I had to do an advertisement for it. First time I've ever done anything like that. I was so fucking excited, and I chose I chose when Alex Winter just went, "Thank you."
Hey,
I actually got two out of it. I got that one, and I got another one with a reply back from Kelly Sue DeConnick the day she read my open love letter article when I used to write for a American website, and it was her response to my article that I got put on this mug. So that's quite special to us. But the Alex Winter one, I'd watched his documentary on the dark web.
Yeah.
Fucking amazing, by the way, and will honestly make you think twice about where you leave your laptop lying about. It's narrated by Keanu Reeves.
Yep.
And it's directed and done by Alex Winter, and it is so fucking fascinating. And I have made this huge long tweet about how amazing this was, such an eye-opener, like brilliantly put together. Keanu Reeves, perfect choice. Mwah. And he sent us one back saying, "Thank you." I was so fucking over the moon. I honestly wept, and then put it on a mug.
He could have ignored it, but he didn't. So there you go.
He didn't. And honestly, if you get a chance, watch the documentary. It's so good.
I'm going to Stu over Henry. That's just
Stu. Yeah, Stu. No, there was no reasoning behind it. Just getting in the way. So I don't. We'll come back to Principal Henry because I've got a few questions on that one.
Yeah, so have I. Because yeah, okay, yeah, go.
Okay. Tate and Riley. What's your guesses?
I'm going to say that was Billy.
Yes, Billy got to get his hands dirty sometime.
Well, I thought that Stu wouldn't want to do it because she was Stu's girlfriend. So I feel like she was a problem because she was trying to tame Stu. So Billy was getting annoyed with her because she was.
I don't think she was part of the plan, in all honesty. No. I think that's Billy going off the script. Kenny.
Oh.
Kenny.
I'm going to say Billy as well.
Stu.
Really?
Yeah.
The only reason I say that, right, because you'll find out this fascination as we go along. I'm going to mention it in this film by film. But Matt Lillard is 6'4". Skeet Ulrich is 6 foot. So when they hire the stunt doubles are actually only between around 5'10".
Yeah.
Because all the women are 5'4", 5'5", 5'6".
So I have a hard job casting me.
At 5'10", they look huge over the women. So they couldn't have someone like Matt and Skeet running around at 6'4".
Yeah,
over the 5'6" women. So
hence the reason why you don't really have them in the suit that often.
Yeah, exactly, and hence why you're never sure who's killing who, because they get one actor that's one height.
Yeah.
Playing, and you're never sure who's who. It gets murky, but you'll see the worst one in a bit when we get to it. But yeah.
And Sydney kills both Stu and Billy.
Yes.
So here's a theory that has just ran through my head just there now, just as I'm reading these out and looking at these names. I think Billy's all fucking talk. Stu has killed the majority of people. The only person we know outside of this group is Maureen Prescott
Mm-hmm.
genuinely thinks Stu did it. I don't think Billy likes getting his hands dirty. Did I just hit a nail on that? I've done 10 hours of work today. That is impressive for me.
You did, because if you watch 2 and 3, it's mentioned by Debbie Salt and Roman in 2 and 3. Not so much by Debbie. Debbie alludes to something, but she doesn't specifically say it out loud, whereas Roman does. Roman basically said when he convinced Billy to kill Maureen, he told him he needed a patsy. He needed somebody he could set up to take the blame for everything. Therefore, it makes full sense that Billy let Stu do the majority of the killing so that Billy couldn't get tied directly. And Billy was the only one that was technically cleared, because his phone drops on the floor and she sees it was him, and then she dobs him into the police because she freaks out, and then he gets cleared. So it looks like he's no issue.
Yeah.
You know?
I just feel like Billy's a bit of a chicken shit.
Oh, 100%. He was just in it for the glory. I do believe he was a truly messed up kid. I do believe that, Maureen Prescott wasn't the most stealth woman if there was videos of her doing these things.
No.
I'm not saying it's not up for any woman or any man is allowed to be sexually liberated, that, that's entirely down to them. But in these movies, everything always comes back to Maureen in the first 3. She's the cause root of everything. She is.
Yeah. She's a dark horse, is old Maureen Prescott.
Rena Reynolds.
Rena Reynolds. I'm not gonna lie, watched the 3rd one the other day and kind of thought, oh, I actually am enjoying this. And you know what? I don't know why I ever had such a problem with it to start with, because it was, out of all of them, it's not the worst by any means. There's some questionable hairdos, there's some questionable fashion choices, but other than that, it's in my eyes anyway, I thought it was a pretty solid film. I honestly thought it was better than the second one.
Going back and watching it now, I used to hate 3. I used to.
I was part of that trope as well.
It never. I was not a fan of when horror movies tried to get too clever. I'm still, to a degree. I don't. An intellectual horror is one thing. We're talking a Dario Argento movie. I would class as intellectual horror. You have to really be concentrating to catch everything and to get the minutiae.
You can't sit on your phones with movies like that.
So I feel like that in its own right is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with an intellectual horror. But when you're trying to be, and I hate this word, meta, and you're trying to do a film within a film within a film within a film within a film, just stop.
Yes. No, stop. Pay homage like what Scream does. How much, like, there's, you mentioned it straight away at the top, at the beginning, so much homage, and that's homage. That's paying respect to the past, and like, oh, look, he is a fresh take on something. That is how you do a fresh take on something. There is 2 lines of dialogue I fucking hate in the first movie. We pointed out the one earlier, the Exorcist line. If some fucker turned around to me and says I was watching The Exorcist and it reminded me of you, I'd put him through the window. He would be going out the same way he came in. The cheeky motherfucker. Hate that line. And my second favorite, least favorite line is when he says, did they ever find out why Hannibal left 8 people? No, don't think so. Well, Billy, the fucking did. The fucking did. And that book, Red Dragon, was out before Silence of the Lambs. Dick. Or was it? I don't know, but still, you dick.
I don't think Billy was.
Oh, he was not clever by any stretch.
No. But for me, Billy, the whole blame it on the movies thing, which now we see as yawn, bore off. But in 96, that was like geez, blame it on the movie. That makes sense. And because
it was such a time as well. Remember Satanic Panic and Columbine, everything was blamed on video games and music. Why would you not have that narrative of things being blamed on movies?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot going on
There was.
in the
There
media
was.
back then, and it got to the point where it was just it seemed like a Christian agenda, or when I say Christian, I mean like the evangelical,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
crazy people of the world, the ones that ask for your money yet live in mansions, them ones.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm saying yeah because the main if you can call them, I mean, I don't know what the right word is to use, but in the Columbine book that I read, which is by Dave Cullen, it is an absolute fucking masterpiece of a job. It's called Columbine, and the detail that they go into on this about the evangelicals, and bearing in mind this is 94.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 94, I believe. Wow, this book has seen its better days. That it's at a time when they had a message, and movies like this would just help and push that
Yeah,
message. Does that make
tried to
sense?
make being murder cool and all stuff like this, and it's like, well,
Well, no, in
no,
my sane mind, I know that murder is not cool.
exactly. It's like, I think, yeah, I mean, I could go down that rabbit hole and be here for about an hour and a half talking about my opinions and all that nonsense, but I'll try and bring it back on track.
Cheers.
Randy's rules. Now,
Randy's
people
rules.
talk about how much sense Randy speaks through the entire film, but no one's planned to listen to Randy because Randy is just the clown. He's the one that is the easy target, the butt of the jokes. He's that lad in the group.
And when it comes to his knowledge, he's you. He's the audience member. He is literally the audience member. He's the one who's telling you, don't say I'll be right back. He's the one who's telling you to run out the front door.
Yeah.
It's everything. He is the audience member. He's
He
you.
is, and he makes the rules obvious, which is before we all know the rules, but it's the first time you hear someone be self-aware of the rules and then they act the rules out. Never have sex, no drink, no drugs, and never say I'll be right back. I think they're Randy's 3 rules.
Because he won't be right back.
No, it's a sin, isn't it? It's the sin thing. No sex, because if you take your virginity, you then become morally bankrupt. Therefore, you are fair game to die. And then the second one is honestly, and then the second one is no drink or drugs because it's an extension of the first one. It's a sin also. So therefore, if you drink or you take drugs, you are also fair game because you're morally bankrupt there as well. So
pretty much you're fucked.
Yeah.
Either way, literally and figuratively.
I mean, this is then where you find out at the party, isn't it, about Principal Himry being hung up on the gatepost.
Yeah. So pretty glad we don't get to see that because that sounds really fucking horrific. But why did Principal Himry have to die?
I can only think it's because he put a curfew. The curfew went on, and he announced the curfew, and then maybe, he was cutting down on kids being a nightmare at school, wasn't he? Like those 2 lads that dressed as Ghostface and went running down.
Hey, he was not taking any fucking prisoners, wasn't he? Absolutely zero fucking tolerance.
No, they with the big old scissors and hack the shit out of the mask. I was like, go on. I think it was just that he
actually cared.
Yeah, he seemed a bit like he did give a shit. He gave a shit about Sydney, and he sat down with her, and and he's like, anything, you don't have to say anything you want, you don't want to, and he just seemed quite a compassionate person. But I think he was just in the way. He was just in the way.
If the way he spoke was used in a 2024 movie, there would be some fucking raised eyebrows. I genuinely believe he is just being wholesome. 100%. There is nothing, I don't believe there's anything behind that, especially, remember kids, your principal loves you. I really think he's meaning that. But if you them exact words and the exact way it was played was done in a 2024 movie, you would have the look that you get on Scary Movie when it's the same scene and the principal literally had his hands all over Sydney. Like,
in 1996, when I was at school, our teachers were totally different to teachers were allowed to put their hand on your shoulder. Teachers were allowed to sort of move you out the way. Teachers were not physically push you, but do you know what I mean? It was totally different. You were, there was a whole different, it was a different time and a different world. So the things that he said and did in that movie are acceptable to people who were in, I think I'm classed as a Gen Xer. So
I'm Gen X.
I don't know when Gen X finishes.
Or am I a millennial?
I think you might be a millennial.
What?
Yeah.
I don't know the difference.
I'm pretty sure Gen X finishes at 1980 or 1981. So
I generally don't know the difference.
Well, Gen Xers are, we're called the lost generation. We're the ones that know how to use a computer, but also know how to go and play outside. You know, we're in that weird.
Hey, that's me. I did that too.
We're in that weird thing, but yeah, because we just don't care. You know, as long as they didn't overstep the mark and they put your hand somewhere they shouldn't have done, then you know your teachers, your teachers. So
exactly. I mean, I had a teacher who once my teachers smoked in their classrooms. Like this is the kind of school that I went to. And we had a teacher, Mr. Donaldson. If my sister is listening, she will know exactly who I am talking about. He used to come in on a morning, and the first thing he'd do, you'd see him, he's putting his cigarette out in the classroom, and he introduced us to his brick. And he had this brown, just brown brick. And he would tell us that if we misbehaved, that brick would be going off our head. And he held out, and it was for all week. He just kept threatening, "I'll get the brick." And he was he was stern, but he was lovely. He was stern, but he was fair. And on the Friday, someone acted themselves up, and he threw the brick, and it was a soft sponge. But that was the kind of school that I went to.
Yeah, no,
I still think that they had a cane still in the corner just for aesthetic.
We had a teacher who threw the blackboard erasers.
Oh, fuck me, no, that's
He'd throw them. He'd hit the wall behind you, but he'd throw them. So, and we had teachers that smashed meter rulers down on the desk and all sorts of stuff. So we would never, if we backchatted a teacher, Christ alive, it wouldn't be worth you. It would not have been worth your while in any way.
I would rather take a chance at backchatting my mum than doing it to one of my teachers at my primary school.
That's a no from me.
Yeah. Just to give a little bit more context on Ghostface, the character itself is based around an actual serial killer.
I did see a video, but I didn't watch it in the end. That they said that it was based from a real one, and I was like,
yeah. So he's based. Get off him! Get off him! Get off him! Come here. He's based on the Gainesville Ripper. Danny Rowland, a serial killer. I have never actually been intrigued on finding any more information out. Please don't embarrass me on this stream. Thank you. Yeah, so he is based on the Gainesville Ripper. All shot on location. Now, I don't know if anyone notices this at the end of Scream. I'm trying to distract you from the fact of what my cats are doing right now. At the end of Scream, there's a message that says, "Thank you so much to such and such, but no thanks to such and such." So where they were filming was where the school was. Wes Craven had it all worked out. This school was going to be their main bit, and it was all perfect. And then they found out what the film was, and they booted them out at the last minute. And then he had to find another location.
Community centre, didn't they?
Yeah.
In the end, yeah.
Yeah, and they had to find another location at the last minute. Ended up working out for its best, but he put a little fucking dig right at the bottom. Go back and watch just the end credit bit. It's like, "Thanks to such and such, but no thanks to you."
I was really obsessed with the soundtracks to the first two. Maybe the third. I don't remember the third as much.
Not so much the third one. When I was watching it the other day, I was like, you are very much of your time.
Yes. But the first one, obviously Alice Cooper, School's Out. You had the acoustic version of the Don't Fear the Reaper by the Blue Oyster Cult. You also had the start of the reoccurring theme that is Nick Cave's Red Right Hand, which is in 5 of the 6 movies. They didn't get it for 4 for some reason. It is not in number 4 anywhere, which I find bizarre. It doesn't turn up either. Red Right Hand isn't on every single soundtrack. It's on 1, 2, 5, and 6 as well.
Wow.
Even though it was used in 1, 2, 3, 5, 6.
Please let's not get confused with the numbers of these films, because Channel 4 nearly got a strongly worded letter sent to them the other day. It's also the opening to every single episode of Peaky Blinders.
Red Right Hand, yeah.
Red Right Hand, because of that magnificent boom that's made. It's kind of like, it's almost like a front door slamming, but very, very loudly. That's the best way I can describe it, and that's like what image I have in my head because I love that song. I absolutely adore that song, and it is through Scream that I love this song. I don't think I would ever have given it any time of day back in the day, but yeah, the soundtrack to the first one is just
I think now we can go on to 2 quickly, can't we? I
mean, 2 is not my favorite. The Ghostface in this one is Mickey, the fucking nerdy fucking dickhead of a student, and who is doing the complete and utter opposite of Billy and Stu. Billy and Stu are going for notoriety in the fact that they want to have the movies blamed for their actions. Mickey's going for the trial.
He wants the OJ case. He wants the notoriety through the whole the circus. He wants the circus.
Yeah, and then you've got Nancy Loomis, Debbie Salt, aka Sheldon's mom, Jackie from Roseanne. Fucking love this woman.
Laurie Metcalf can do no wrong as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely, absolutely not. After watching her play Sheldon's, I mean, I love her as Jackie. I'm a huge Roseanne fan. Don't get us wrong. Roseanne Barr can get in, but the actual program of Roseanne from the 90s is still some of the best TV. It hits points that you wouldn't even dare to do today in television.
I wanted John Goodman to be my dad when I was a kid. I used to ask my mum all the time, can he be my dad?
The TikTok show all the time, the scene where Jackie finally admits that Trevor has been beating her up.
Yeah.
And she's so she is, Tori Metcalf is an amazing actress, and she is genuinely scared. And it's Dan's reaction where he doesn't say a goddamn word. He just gets his jacket and leaves. And when the
police come for him, goes, where are we going? You don't have to cut me. It's fine. I'm going.
Yeah. He's like, can I just finish this chicken first? And then he's like, sorry, Dan, but we're gonna have to cuff you. And he's like, no, it's fine. And he holds his hands up straight away. And to be honest, he would do it again for her in a heartbeat. I love my favorite Jackie moment. Sorry to go on a tangent of Jackie from Roseanne, but my dad's dead scene, written by the late great Norm. I can't think of McDermott. Saturday Night Live alum. Can't think of his name right now. Where she's like, Dad's dead. Dad's dead. Dad's dead. And she's like proper screaming down the phone. And just ringing to tell you, Dad's dead. And then at the end of this whole scream fest, she just goes, Dad's fine. He sends his love. And then puts the phone down. One of the greatest comedy scenes of Roseanne ever. It is absolutely brilliant. But yeah, Nancy Loomis is another killer. Billy's mom. And I love that Sydney knew who she was straight away.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I'm going to quickly talk about the height differences. Timothy Oliphant is 6 foot. Laurie Metcalf is 5'7". That's a 5-inch difference between the two of them. And we're still supposed to believe, bear in mind, that they're the same height when they're dressed as Ghostface. So it's like, this is when it wasn't really an issue for me here. It's not until a lot later on that it becomes an issue. But I didn't mind this one.
No, it's not. Don't get us wrong. I don't mind it, but I actually preferred 3 over it. I thought 3 had just a little bit more substance, and I used to hate him, and I know we'll get into him in a little bit, but I've kind of grown to the Roman Bridger character.
Right. Well, with this one, I think it was because when you start looking at the cameos that came into two, you had Sarah Michelle Gellar,
Yeah.
who was a Kevin Williamson girl because she was filming I Know What You Did Last Summer in this 1997 Scream 2.
Yeah.
You had Casey Joshua Jackson from
Yes.
Creek. He was in it. That just little ones. You have Rebecca Gayheart, met her.
You had Portia de Rossi.
Yeah.
Hate the fact that you just said that.
Yeah.
Portia de Rossi, and you also had, if you look
David
very,
Warner.
very closely, sorry.
David Warner's in it as well.
David Warner. Wait, for 2 seconds, I was like, "Holy shit! You've had David Warner this whole time, and that's how you use him."
Well, the only reason was Wes wanted to do him a favor because David Warner originally auditioned to be Freddy, and Wes didn't want him. He said he was too nice. He loved him in The Omen. He said, but I can't have you as Freddy. You're too nice. It just doesn't sit well with me. And then he came across his radar and he went, right, I want him. I want David Warner to play the teacher. He's warm. He's nice. I like him. He gives off a good vibe. So when he talks to Sydney in that little scene,
it's quite nice. It is a quite nice scene. I just thought for I mean, as I've mentioned before, Omen is like, so it was like really sad just to be like, oh, you're only in there for a second. It wasn't David Warner's name I was going to say.
Oh, who are you going to say?
The little tiny cameo, if you look very closely, Matthew Lillard walks across your screen, and in the college scene where Sydney and him from Stand By Me are sitting on. Thank you. Sitting on the balcony and see over the courtyard, you see Matthew Lillard walking across the screen. Matthew Lillard and Neve Campbell were in a relationship at the time, and he was on set that day, and he went, wouldn't it be funny if I just walked across the screen?
You know what? I've never noticed.
Yeah, so Matthew Lillard. I don't think that opens up anything when it comes down to my Stu conspiracies. I just think that is a funny, ha, I'm bored day. Let me just walk across this courtyard. But yes, Matthew Lillard is in Scream 2.
Out of all of the soundtracks, this was the one I listened to the most growing up. I don't know why. It was like Less Than Jake, Everclear. It was very like the Eels. It was very my taste at the time, which was all sort of like ska, pop punk, you know. Then you had like the Eels, who were just weird. And I was on Top of the Pops in 1996, 97. I was in the audience. And
oh, you're gonna say you were performing there. I was like, fuck's sake, Dan, you were such a dark horse.
I was in the audience, and they had people on like All Saints, Ricky Martin, Morrissey, Hanson, Green Day. The Eels were actually on, and they were performing, and Robbie Williams. It was a very, very. They used to film about 3 or 4 different episodes in one and chop and change and use. But the Eels were on, and they sung Susan's House on there. And then I remember I'd never heard of them before that. And then next thing you know, the soundtrack to Scream 2 came out, and they were doing Lucky Day in Hell from the movie, and it came out, and I was like, I know who they are.
I just ended up my monitor. Off.
Yeah, so I got really giddy over it. But did you also know, I've got a weird fact about this one, the Stab movie at the beginning, where Jada Pinkett up your bum, G.I. Jane, gets take those words out and no, I'm not gonna do it. The beginning of the bit where you've got Heather Graham as Casey Becker.
Yes.
It flashes out.
I forget that Stab runs all the way through this film.
There's been 8 of them. So there's more Stab movies
than there is actual Scream movies.
But you don't find this out until I think it's number 4. But Robert Rodriguez actually did direct that scene in the Stab movie.
Yes.
So it was like, I found that out because I watched in 4, they actually show it at the beginning.
Yeah.
A Robert Rodriguez film or something. And I was like, I didn't know that, but it actually did happen. It was real.
I know that since you have brought it up there, because I remember reading that, like I mentioned to you before we came on, we did a Scream episode like 3 years ago, and I'm sure that was one of my interesting facts.
I was like, what?
I keep meaning to, when I get an urge to go on my t-shirt hunts, I have to like my Jason collection is now done. I cannot fit any more in there. but I've got like a Scream one, and I've got a white just this white t-shirt, just with the Scream kind of like video style, like a vintage style look of it. And I've got this one. I've got a Woodsboro t-shirt. I want a fucking Stab t-shirt, and I keep meaning to go and get it, and then something else will come up, and I completely forget. But I love this kind of like lime green the against it, very much like our logo.
Funny.
Funny.
I
Funny how that works out.
This was the second highest grossing movie in all of the franchise.
Oh, I thought you were going to say of that year, but
No.
really? Scream
Yeah.
2?
Scream 1 was the most at 100,
yeah, that's a given.
173 million on a 15 million budget. That's all they had. And so they made 158 million on that first one. They thought it was going to be shit to start off with because nothing happened, but it ran in the cinema for 8 months in the end, which is a long time. But when you think about it, back then you weren't getting straight to streaming, you weren't getting all these pay box office in. You only had HBO where you had to pay for it if you were in America, and Sky was relatively new, so it wasn't something that, you know, I don't know. I think we did pay-per-view at some point, but I don't think you had like, it was a good year before these movies came out for you to be able to even watch.
We had to wait. We learned the art of patience in the 90s.
Scream 2 took 172 million at the box office on a 24 million budget, which earned them 148 million. So it was the second highest.
That is interesting. Is that including 5 and 6?
Yeah, I've got all 6 of them here ranked.
That's really interesting then, because it didn't. I'm going to be honest. Scream 2 and 3. If I think to myself, right, I'm going to watch Scream, and then Scream finishes, and I'm like, oh, you know, I could watch Scream 2, and I'm like, no, why? I'm going to go and watch Scream again. I have actually done that before.
Yeah.
I liked it. I just didn't love it like I did it will, in my eyes, it could never hold up to the first one.
I never forgive them for killing off Randy in this one though.
Oh, I don't know if that was a good move or not.
He didn't get a deserved death, I don't feel like, you know, if you're going to kill a legacy character, I don't agree with it. Leave them be. I don't like change. I just don't like it.
No,
he was your comedy relief. He was your funny guy, you know. And I know the tropes say that at some point that guy's got to go, and you knew at some point he was going to go, but
did it have to be Randy?
And it was, I know it was Nancy that killed Randy.
Whoa, hey, really? Because that is one hell of a pull into the van.
She admits it at the end. When she's doing the monologue to Sydney. She says something along the lines of, Randy was really easy to kill in the van, or something. I
remember that now.
So she says something along those lines.
I never actually thought ahead. I was only more interested in the Billy and Stu, who killed who, because, and now I'm glad I did, because I can just see how much of a fucking coward Billy actually was, and Stu did all the hard work. Mickey was
the patsy.
He was. Well, yeah. Because mother and son definitely had the same idea, didn't they? And wouldn't be surprised if said ideas were ran past each other at some point. But Mickey was just meh, okay. I didn't realize for years later that was Timothy Olyphant, because obviously Timothy Olyphant looks very different now. that man grew into his features.
He was my first sort of foray, because I remember she said she found him on like Craigslist or something. It was like she found him on Facebook Marketplace, the equivalent of to these days, you know. It's really weird how they've been very thoughtful through the majority of these films have been thoughtful with how they've connected the killers at all times.
There has been, it's not, and I don't think the first 3 were a stretch. No,
I mean, 4, I get it, but the first 4 were written and directed by Wes and Kevin, the first 4. So for me, 5 and 6 fall off because obviously Wes wasn't around, so the option wasn't there for Wes. But Kevin digging his heels in and saying, I'm not touching this with a barge pole because you two are weird.
For 2 very different reasons as well.
Mhm.
But yeah, Mickey and Nancy are your killers in Scream 2, no, Scream 3.
Yes, Roman Bridge.
Roman Bridger, who turns out, Binks, I don't know where you think you're going to go from there. It turns out to be Sydney's half brother.
Yes. Now,
And they really give you a backstory for her mother in this one, and it's quite an in-depth one.
yeah. And it's sad.
Very sad.
And I don't know if on the whole it's necessary. However, it takes them out of the Woodsboro setting. I know in the second one you were, because you were at college, so you were out of Woodsboro, but
You kind of still had the same people there.
bearing in mind that's the second movie that Dewey has been stabbed in the back in the same place. So
oh fuck yeah, I totally forgot about Deputy Dewdog, who manages to get hurt, and I think it's pointed out in the third one that every time he is next to he is in this kind of situation, he ends up getting hurt. So he's not the person you want to be around.
no, Officer Dewdrop, that's what Patrick Warburton calls him, isn't it? Joe from Family Guy.
Dewdrop.
He this is the bit where that you actually find out that the movies within the movies are no, in the second one you found out it was Tori Spelling, Luke Wilson, but in this one they drop a joke about how David Schwimmer wouldn't touch one of the reboots of Stab with a barge pole. He actually played Officer Dewey in 1 and 2, in Stab, but he wouldn't do 3 because he said it was terrible. Like there was this whole joke set up.
It's
Randy.
The cast is completely changed in the Stab movies. It's now going into the likes of Jenny McCarthy, B-listers. Who is the actress who plays Gail Weathers?
Parker Posey, but she's a Nazi sympathizer. So
but fuck her. But I I didn't know who she was. I wanted to call her Laura Flynn Boyle, and I was like, fuck me, that is not her.
No, Parker Posey. I always love her in I've loved her in number 3, but recently, I say recently, it's within X amount of years. She did something which
questionable.
It was more than that. There was something about a march with yeah, and then there was something else about advocating on behalf of. I mean, majority of this is allegedly, may I say, but it was one of those things where, when you just get really sort of like, oh, for fuck's sake, I didn't mind her, because she was in Blade 3. She was the one who Ryan Reynolds and her were arguing all the time in Blade 3.
Well, that's good to know. Don't be fighting on me knee, please. Thank you. That is good to know, because I'm doing Blade soon.
Yeah.
So keep away from that character. Quite liked her in this though.
Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. I loved her in this as Gail Weathers. Especially when Gail and Gail and Gail go to find out the info from Carrie Fisher, and Carrie Fisher's like,
it's not me.
It's not me. Did you know they actually originally asked Jamie Lee Curtis to do that, and Jamie wouldn't?
Oh, that is such a good. Do you know what? It would have been absolutely amazing if it was Carrie Fisher with Jamie Lee working behind her, just in the background. Doesn't have to say a goddamn word, just in the background. That would have been and I'm sure them two were friends as well. Sorry if anyone has just seen me screeching in silent pain. Binks has just clawed his way up my leg.
Ow.
He has little Wolverine claws, a little shitbag. I had a lot more time for Roman Bridget in this movie this time around, and I don't know why. I can't really explain it, because I just thought, ugh, the brother, of course, how fucking original. But when you really listen to the whole Maureen, sorry, I'm getting mixed up between my characters. And when you really hear the story, it kind of makes sense that she would have had this like secret life, and it would have made sense she had this secret child. But my favorite part of the interaction between brother and sister is when he's laying out his plans, laying out his whole thing, and she says, "Will you get this over already? I have heard this shit before. And I'm like, fuck yes, Sydney. And he loses his temper and the pair of them go at each other. That was a very Lion King moment right there. Like the way that the two of them just went for each other.
It was the bit where for me, it was the bit where she'd stabbed him with the ice pick and he was dying. And then she held his hand with him until he went. Obviously, we know double tap system works in this on this occasion.
Yeah.
But that was the bit where I was like, you could see she really sort of thought to herself, he's been on his own.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, he's had to go through this his entire life by himself.
Yeah, and it can't have been easy. She thinks you've got to remember, Sydney, up until she didn't, was having the perfect life. You know, but yes, our mum wasn't there, but our dad was doing the best that he could to make sure that she was having somewhat of a normal life. I know in the kill count, and one kill count I saw, it was actually 46, and they included Sydney's dad.
Yeah.
But Sydney's dad dies of natural causes somewhere between 4 and 5. I can't remember.
There's a deleted scene somewhere where David Arquette mentions it, I think. But the thing I disliked about 3 was the introduction of the one thing that I dislike the most. If you have a formula with a movie, like 1 and 2 had a formula, you know how the film's gonna play out in theory. You know, killer, Sydney, killers reveal themselves at the end.
Yeah.
You know that's how it works. So when you get to 3, you then start having these really bizarre, they're like hallucination / dreams that you're having to
Sydney.
I was like, that's not needed.
It's so scary movie. Sydney.
And then she trips over and falls. Yeah. That for me was just not needed. Like the nightmare sequences, I was like, it doesn't. You're bringing an element of that takes you out of it.
Yeah, it's you're putting changes that don't need to be made in it. You've kind of got a bit of a solid story, with what you've got. Just roll with that. You don't need to.
Yeah, it's like, it's real, isn't it? You've got like it's real in the sense of, whilst I know that kind of thing doesn't happen, it's real in the sense of that you empathize with somebody, they die, or you empathize with her and she kills them at the end.
Yeah.
The little harkbacks to these weird little dream sequences, I didn't like them, and I remember sitting there, because this came out in 2000, so I remember sitting there being 20 years old going, what the fuck is this? Why? I don't need to see Maureen going, it's all your fault, Sydney, and then the bloody hand going down the thing as it's like, what?
It's the scene in Scary Movie 2 where she's going through the halls and it's Sydney. I'm in here, Sydney.
The weird thing,
scary movies.
The weird thing about this one was the soundtrack itself for 3 was all Slipknot, System of a Down, Cold Chamber, Static X.
And you would think I would fucking... Slipknot is one of my favourite bands ever.
Wait and Bleed is on this soundtrack for 3.
I did not know. I watched this intently the other day.
Yeah, it must be on the credits, because I don't remember hearing it either, and I know what I'm
fucking Cold Chamber, man. That's the second time in so long that band has been brought up to me. I was obsessed with them.
So was I.
Oh, me loco.
The house at the very end where you go to Lance Henriksen's house, that is the same house that was used as the school in H20.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Also, David Boreanaz, however you want to say it.
Boreanaz.
That one. He was originally cast as Mark Kincaid.
Is that Patrick Wilson?
It's Patrick Dempsey.
Patrick Wilson. Very different person.
Patrick Dempsey was hired 3 days before they started shooting.
Oh, such a waste of a character in that franchise. I could think of so many other ways that Patrick Dempsey could make a fucking impression on this whole franchise.
They didn't have him in that end scene where he went into the house. And this was the one thing that I will say about the producers. they insisted they inserted him into that final scene because they said it made no sense to have a character that played all the way through to then never see him again. It was a really weirdly written character. But David dropped out, Patrick took over. And then, the house which turns out to be Gale 2's house.
Yeah.
That is actually owned by Randall Kleiser, who was the guy who directed Grease.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I found that out today, and I was just like, "That's bizarre," but okay.
That's an interesting fact. One scene that really annoyed me in this movie is the scene where, and it should be such a good scene because the lead up to it is brilliant. The fax machine scene. When they're reading from the fax machine and the scripts are coming through.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Great idea. Kind of love where you're going with it. And then he picks up cigarettes and then he lights the cigarettes. And then he says the line, "Who's going to be on to smell the gas first?" And as he says gas, he blows up. Dude, you would have been up fucking as soon as that cigarette, it was a petrol lighter. As soon as that went, like that spark went off, if the gas was as strong as what it is to blow that house up, you are going up before you have even taken a drag off that cigarette.
Yeah.
And it annoyed the shit out of us. The one thing in this world I am scared of, because I don't have a great sense of smell, is gas.
Right.
Because I can't believe some of the shit that I admit on this podcast. But do you know what I do when I need to smell properly? It sounds so ridiculous. Close my eyes and I have to turn the telly off. Everything has to be silent for us to be able to go like that. And I was thinking to myself, does anyone else do that? But then I think to myself, all I'm doing is shutting off my other senses because my nose is so bad that I can't smell a lot.
Like you say, you just shut down your other senses.
It still sounds so weird coming from me.
I think this one, I liked it. I liked the reveal that he was an illegitimate baby from a casting couch session.
God.
But I don't understand the spoilt kid syndrome that Roman had because he was the one that this is where you find out at the end that he was the one that apparently hired Billy or showed Billy that Maureen was having an affair with his mum, and then he convinced Billy to find someone that would help him.
I want to call bullshit on that whole thing. Could you not have just said he was the one who pointed Billy in that direction? Did you have to say that you were the one who implanted the thoughts into his head?
Yeah.
Just give Billy some fucking credit.
No.
Billy's
done. Apparently, according to everybody, it was always someone else's responsibility.
Well, it's always somebody else's fault. Scream 4. I got Charlie Walker.
Now, 11 years later.
Yeah, this
big jump.
Big massive jump. And I don't think I saw it until a few years ago. I really was dead set against on watching Scream 4, and I cannot remember for the life of us why. I have never been one of those who'd be like, ugh, it's been too long. I can't watch this anymore.
Scream 4 is the bit where it tries to be a bit too clever at the beginning with the movie within a movie within a movie. Because you have the first scene, which is the two girls, one from Pretty Little Liars, and I can't remember who the other girl is. Then you realize that they're watching a film which is Kristen Bell and
Anna Paquin.
Yeah, I was going to say Suki from True Blood, but yeah, Anna Paquin. And I just love the fact how cold Kristen Bell is. You just won't stop talking, and she steps.
I feel like that's if we ever did an episode side by side. I feel like that's what you would do to me.
I don't know. I do talk a lot. And then it flicks over to the young girl that has been in like the Clive Barker Books of Blood and all sorts of stuff. I can't remember what else.
I didn't recognize the two after them two. To be honest, I didn't even recognize the ones before them. What I kept thinking of watching it is, I'm sure I've just seen this in a scary movie film.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I think for me, that wasn't an attempt to be intelligent. That was a piss take. That's what it felt like. Because I think 11 years later, I think 2011, probably Inception was around about that time. Might have been a little bit after that. I think there was an element of like this was a trope that was being used, and Scream's purpose is to take the piss out of. It's a satire, and you know, at be all and end all, that's what it is. But
Yeah.
you look at the cast for this one, and it's an eclectic taste. I mean,
it is.
You've got Anthony Anderson. You've got the kid from was it One Tree Hill? The one from Jennifer's Body. Dark head.
Adam Brody.
Yeah, that's it. You've got Hayden Panettiere, you've got Creepy Culkin, you've got Emma Roberts.
Culkin. He is a creepy Culkin.
Rory is the creepiest kid you've ever seen. He gives me the ick, and I don't. It's the hairdo.
Yeah,
you look at Macaulay. You look at
Kieran.
They don't have the ick factor. There's something about Rory that makes me feel very uncomfortable. But I think
because he's an amalgamation of them two. That's why.
Do you know what I think did it? He was actually in the Waco TV series with oh god, I can't remember the guy's name that played him, but the Waco TV series, which I highly recommend you watch, that came out about 3 or 4 years ago.
We talked about it on one episode you were on when you first came on our podcast, and I watched it then. You're probably the only time I've ever done that, when someone's recommended to me going, I gotta watch it because Waco fascinates the fucking shit out of us.
I can't. Emil Hirsch, I think. No, is it not? No, it's one of those that plays David Koresh anyway. But he plays the devoted follower, Creepy Culkin, and so it's just stuck in my head. That's what he'll be forever known as, Creepy Culkin. Emma Roberts is at the height of her. She's coming into her own. American Horror Stories obviously started at this point. What's his name? Ryan
Murphy.
Murphy's got a hard on for Emma because she's Julia Roberts' niece. She's Eric Roberts' daughter. She's legacy in her own right.
But she is. She's a legacy character right there. Who I dare say is a very good scream queen.
She is, but I don't want to give her any credit because she's also, it's trigger warning for anybody, but she's also been done for domestic violence.
Oh shit, I totally forgot about that, Evan Peters.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, credit where credit's due. If the shoe was on the other foot and it was a bloke, I'll be like,
what she did, I remember that.
Yeah,
that was
so
that was before she
really
turned
like
on Mother. Yeah, no, I remember that. That's she's good scream queen. But God, I remember that. It wasn't long before American Horror Story. Oh gosh, I can't remember which one it was. It was the first time that they weren't on it together. And
yeah, when it happened was the New Orleans witchy one.
Yes.
So it was there.
I'm not going to go into too much detail. If you want to go, you can go and find and read it yourself. What she did to that man was horrific.
Yeah. But because being legacy herself, we brush that under the carpet, and she still gets cast for roles to this day. So I don't get it. But they basically had Jill. They made her Jill, and Jill is the cousin of Sydney. So we're sidestepping to another member of a relation of someone in of the legacy characters. At this point, this is where I kind of understand what they're doing in 4. I like what they're doing in the sense of that they have a fresh take on the first movie, because what they're trying to do is say that it is the movies. They're all movie. They're all still very movie obsessed, but these two seem to be movie obsessed with Stab, the 2 lads at the beginning. And they tend to get you off the scent a little bit, because you think to yourself, okay, it's definitely Creepy Culkin. In your head, I was definitely set on it being Charlie. And then you have a swerve moment where you're like, well, it's not. I don't think it is Charlie. It could be Trevor. And then
I always thought it was Trevor. I'm not going to lie.
And then you have a swerve moment and you're like, oh, maybe it's Kirby, you know, and you're going, oh, you have a lot more of those moments in this one than I feel like you have had since the beginning. Like,
there
was a bit more misdirection in this one. So when it did come out that it was Charlie and Jill together at the end, I was like,
I kind of don't give a shit about this film. If I'm all on, like, if we take this out of the franchise, it's like, okay, that's fine. That is totally and utterly fine. I
think they're trying to set up the fact, though, to put to one side, they're setting up the fact that Gail has moved to Little Town Woodborough to be with Dewey, because obviously at the end of 3 he asked her to marry him. And they're very open about it. He turns around and says to her, "This will never work, but we can try." And they were actually married at that point as well.
Yeah, they weren't on the first one.
No, they were just date. That's where they met, and then the second one they were dating. Third one they got married. The fourth one they were still married. But they're setting up the fact that she was bored. She had no inspiration. Nothing was happening in her life, and then Sydney comes back into town, and boom, here we go again. You know.
She must love it when Sydney Prescott visits. But Sydney's like she's kind of taken the life of an author and has wrote about as you would if you lived Sydney Prescott's life. You'd fucking write about it.
You've shot 1, 2, 3, 4. Shot and stabbed 5 people.
And got away with it.
No, I think, did she kill Mickey? Yes, she did. Or was it Gail that shot Mickey? Anyway, Cotton might have shot Mickey at that point. I've got to that point.
Oh my God, Cotton Weary! I forgot about his death in 3. That was tragic.
Liev Schreiber, wasn't it?
Oh yes.
My main man, Pablo's half brother.
your half brother's hotter. Yes. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, Liev. Pablo always wins out for me.
They are still very close, though. They are very close. They're just, the two brothers are still close. I fucking love Pablo Schreiber.
I just like the fact he don't care. He takes a piss out of himself. So yeah, I like a sense of humour.
He's lush. Anyways, Cotton Weary is dead. And Scream 4 is a big pile of turd. No, I'm joking. I just can't get away with it. Especially, I don't know. It just feels too much of that time. And where vlogging and blogging was starting to come into play, and every fucker had a video camera. If it wasn't, I know it migrates into your phone, but I don't know. There's just something about that time. I'm like, don't particularly like it.
Odd time, 2011. It was
such a lull, wasn't there?
Yeah, I mean,
Scream 4 doesn't fit in horror in 2011.
I think that's the thing. I don't know what else was out in 2011 to even compare it to what was out. Like, my head goes, what other horror movies came out that surpassed it? I mean, bearing in mind, I want to say Wes died 3 years after this one, 4 years after this one.
Did he?
2014, 2015, I think Wes passed away. So this was his last Scream, obviously. So
okay, you're kind of in a supernatural feel in 2011. You got the Right, Innkeepers, Grave Encounters, The Woman, Hostel.
Right. Okay. So gore porn. Right. Okay.
That's where we are in.
So that's why it didn't fit or do so well. I will say it was probably, I think it's the worst performing. Number 4.
Oh God, the remake of The Thing came out.
I didn't hate it, but it opened the doorway to a lot, for people to go back and watch the original.
Yeah, I just Final Destination 5. That's where you are, like in that genre. Final Destination is not a slasher movie. Oh God, Hellraiser Revelations is then. Never mind. Oh.
Number 3, just quickly, budget of 40 million, made 100.
Oh shit, yeah.
Made 162 million. No, that's cool. But number 4 was the worst performing out of the lot.
I'm not surprised.
It made 97 million in the box office, but on a budget of 40 million. So it took about a third of what all the other movies had sort of turned over. So they considered it a flop.
It's such a throwaway. It wasn't needed. The franchise was doing fine. If you'd have just missed that one out and then gone into Scream 5, I'd be all right with that. But we're going to get it out of the way with. You can get your thoughts and feelings on Scream 5 whenever you're ready.
Have we got 6 hours?
We got all the time in the world, to be honest. We're pre-recorded.
My issue with this film is the fact that there was no whodunit. You knew. Everybody freaking knew from the beginning who it was.
You
because
knew before when you saw the posters.
it was like when Jack Quaid is not a bad person. He is not a guy that gets passed or cast even as a bad guy. There is no reason for it. He is not. It's not done. It's just he's not. The fact that we were supposed to believe this is where this whole thing with my issue with the intelligence movie comes into it. The concept of meta really comes out in this one. Like all bets are off, legacy characters. You get to see Randy's sister. You find out that Chad, Mork and Mindy are Randy's nephew and niece. So you've got your adjacent
Randy character.
And I should have known from the opening scene where General Ortega is getting phoned and they said, "What's your scary movie?" What does she say? The Baba Bloody Duke. Get the bin.
Nobody says the Babadook.
She says the Babadook, right? And then she says, "Oh, it's an elevated horror about a woman's grief." Look, it's not a social commentary. It's a horror movie. You're not. It's from that moment they lost me because I was like, right, okay, so we're going down this, are we? And I remember I went to see it at the cinema in 2022 when it came out, and I was so looking forward to it because it'd been another 11-year jump, and I thought to myself, okay, with the way movies are at the moment, horrors are on the rise. We're getting a lot of them. We've got to get something good. This is gonna really come out with. I was dying to see Stu. I was like, please bring back Stu. Although really in theory he must be dead, but
still gonna happen.
Yeah, it's but all the time when you find this is another reason why I hated this one, the flashback mental hallucinations that Samantha has with Billy, and we're supposed to believe that Billy is 17 when Skeet Ulrich was 54. He's 54 and he's doing these flashbacks pretending he's 17, and it's like
this my issues with this movie goes from her, Samantha Carpenter. Obviously the name is in homage to John Carpenter. God, the acting from this girl in this movie it's GCSE drama level. Like, it is fucking horrific. It sounds like she watched the whole series of the Kardashians and thought, that's it, that's how I will do this. And I'm not dissing the Kardashians in any way. We all know Kardashian Thursdays, but I just cannot stand the way that she took on this part. When Jenna Ortega, you are acting aside Jenna Ortega. Now, granted, at the time her name was not as big as what it is as of 2024, but she still had some weight behind it. She still had some credits to her name. That girl ran fucking rings around her.
I disliked everything about this film. I just did. I didn't like the way that they did Dewey in this. The beginning, the setup with Dewey about how he got fired from being the one thing he's only ever known in his entire life. How he just left Gail in the middle of the night. He upped and left and didn't tell her he was going. All these things are not Dewey. They are not Dewey. It's like they didn't know the character.
No.
And that annoyed the hell out of me. It's like, I know the character and I didn't even write the fucking script. And I you know who Dewey is. He's a good man. They
did Dewey dirty in this one.
They really did.
My only favorite moments with Dewey, to be honest, it's David Arquette. I'm gonna love anything the fucker does, but the most touching bit, and it actually made us well up, and it's the one time they've done this, or even I've noticed it, when you are scanning through his little, is he in a caravan or like a trailer
like
park?
A double wide,
yeah. See Tatum's ashes.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, on a sideboard, he has a little, almost like a tiny little shrine, and it's Tatum's ashes. And you see her name across the thingy, and it's like, that's the first, because everyone forgets, for all Dewey has been through some horrific things, he lost his fucking sister in this all.
Yeah.
And they forget that part. And I do like the fact in this film that they did show that side of him.
I like the reunion between Dewey and Gail though, because in real life they had divorced at that point, and they were still not on quite.
Oh no, they're still the best friends.
Yeah, they just got, that they were in that place, but it was just the little chat between the two of them after Judy, the policewoman. May I add, right? Okay, Judy got stabbed in the middle of everywhere, like everybody could see everything. No one saw a thing. Not one car drove past. Not one person walked past. It was out in her front bloody garden.
Yet I'll go and put me bin out in me fucking jammers, and every fucker through shiny goes past my house.
Everything about this film, it's I disliked. It was even the reveal that they were at Stu Mocker's house at the end.
Oh,
because it was just like
the trailers had me so on it. I have been on since this movie was announced, since the showing of the first trailer, and seeing the front of Stu's house. I was like, fuck me, Stu is coming back. I have been on this train since we did a trailer review. It's on the YouTube channel. I see it on there. Stu Mocker's coming back. I'm telling you now, that's what's gonna be the big reveal. And holy shit, what a moment that would have fucking been. But for it to be that fucking Amber, I don't like her face. I didn't like her face in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I'm so fucking glad Leonardo DiCaprio burnt her. There's something about her I just don't like. And maybe that's the job that she was meant to be there to do. But at the same time, fuck her. And fuck Richie.
Well, there was this weird connection. I don't know if you caught it, because 5 goes past so quickly because they're trying to be so clever. Oh, it could be this, it could be that. Then they're redoing scenes like where Mindy's on the sofa and the whole Randy thing from the screen. Fuck off. And then there's this bit where you actually find out the young bloke that was stalking the girlfriend of Mork and Mindy, the guy with the tash that had the Trans Am and looked like
him.
He was, right. This is who he was. He was Stu Mocker's sister's son. So that's why he died.
I didn't know that. Did we meant to know that?
They mention it in about a second of a conversation. And I caught it by chance. I literally caught it by chance when I watched it. And it made me angry. And I was like,
I did not know that.
There was no reason for A, him to be in it, or B, him to die. What the hell did he have to do with anything?
He was a bit of a dick, but you know what I mean? Like, he didn't deserve to be stabbed.
I mean, everything about it, it was like, what was the purpose of it being the boyfriend and the best friend? What was the purpose of it? What exactly did they want to do? She found him on the internet in a forum where they talk about the stab movies.
And yet he'd never seen the stab movies, or almost acted like he'd never heard of Netflix until...
And then she didn't know anything about it until she moved into Stu's house, and then she found out all the stuff about it and became obsessed by it. And that was enough for the two of them to become absolute crazed serial killers.
Me and my best friend, we talk about true crime all the time. During lockdown, we got very invested in the Red Handed podcast, and we would sit on a night time and go, which ones have you listened to today? And we would do bearing in mind it was lockdown, not a lot going on. We would do in-depth conversations about the episodes we watched. Not once did we sit there and go, fancy doing this? Fancy making this reality? What fucking sane person? There's got to be something. I don't get the logic, and maybe I shouldn't get the logic because I have a sane mind. Anthony, my dear husband, took one look at the poster and went, "It's him." And I had 2
seconds.
Yeah, and I had to sit there throughout the entire film because he keeps going, "It's him, isn't it?" And I'm going, "Just watch to the end." And if I say just watch to the end, he knows he's right.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to say, "You're gonna have to watch to the end," and he'll go, "Bah, I'm right. I know it's him. It's him.
Yeah.
It's him."
Turned around and said to me, "It's him." I went, "Yeah, I know." And then when you met the friend, and she was being all weird and over possessive of her, when General Ortega was in the hospital bed and Amber was being, "You could do this," and looking at Sam like she was a piece of shit, I was like, "Oh,
who the fuck are you?"
Yeah. You know, and it was just like, there was no surprise. All of the others, there was this whodunit element. That was the whole point of Scream, was like, who done it?
It kept you guessing, even if you didn't like it. Like with Scream 4, it still kept you guessing. It still made you think.
This one, it just had none of that for me. And the biggest fact that the issue that I have, apart from the fact, is that they decide to kill off Dewey, right? Spoiler, but yeah, they do. And Amber admits to being the one that killed Dewey because obviously Richie was in the lift with Sam.
Yeah, he was there.
So we're to believe, bear in mind, Jack Quaid is 6'1", and Mikey Madsen, who plays Amber, is 5'3".
Yeah, she's tiny.
So you look at that. That's me and Rob. Well, it's not, Rob's 6'2", but that's me and Rob, right? I look at his chest. I am right slap bang on his nipples when I look at him with my eyes.
Nice nipple shot.
Yeah. So bear in mind that's what we're looking at with those two there. David Arquette is 5'10". The killer was looming over David Arquette when he was killed. She's 5'3". It could never have been her. You know, I know I'm looking into it too much, but it is my pet peeve. That's continuity for me.
Continuity. Yeah. I think with this movie, we had such high expectations because I think Marvel has ruined us in some ways. When Marvel was at its peak,
in this fucking bullshit, yeah.
Well, when Marvel was at its peak, I mean, let's take away the television shows and most recent films. Like, let's lead up to we were ruined. We were getting amazing film after amazing film after amazing film. And we were at a time where we were like, oh my God, people are stepping their fucking game up. And then they come out with this. And they did the same with Halloween.
You're getting they did. We've talked about that though. But with this one, it was like, you're going to get one of the old characters coming back that you're not expecting. Everybody was like, Stu. And the minute I saw Samantha introduced, I thought, oh God, she's going to be Stu's kid. There's going to be something. And then when you saw the dodgy, photoshopped, weird looking Skeet Ulrich in the mirrors, and I'm like,
oh,
look,
no.
Right, do you know what the budget was on this film? The budget on this film was 24 million, right?
That's a lot of coin.
And it must have been shot COVID times, bearing in mind as well, because if it came out in 22, it must have been shot 2021. Right? So slap bang of the panini. You're telling me for 24 million you couldn't have hired someone from ILM or one of these really like decent houses that could have
in the de-aging process. Look at what what Marvel have given you. Even Star Wars for that matter. Look at Lucasfilm, look at Disney. What you may not like it, you may not agree with it, but at least it was a little bit more daring and trying than what you got with Billy Loomis's face. Do you know what he looked like? Really bad fucking plastic surgery.
It did, yeah. And then having seen Skeet Ulrich in 20, what was the year? 21, 22, was it that he did?
22.
Yeah, For the Love of Horror.
The year I was meant to be there and couldn't be there.
So the year it came out, him and Skeet did.
Yeah, because
I'm
sure I said to you, go and ask Stu if he's in. Go and ask Matthew Lillard if he's in this film.
Because at that point, I'd already met Matt Lillard because I met him at Edinburgh HorrorCon, and that was when he called me the miserable. See you next Tuesday. And there's that photo of me looking up at him, going like that, laughing his ass off at me. And the whole time, he just spent skipping around the HorrorCon, calling everybody a miserable. No, calling everybody. See you next Tuesday. He reserved the miserable one for me, so to this day I am doffed my cap to that. But he I had a pop vinyl made of Stu with a stab wound in his stomach, and it was like a custom, and he signed it for me. He's even put one of one, first I've ever seen, on the bottom of it, and it's like one of my prized possessions. That but I digress. I've seen Skeet Ulrich with my eyes, and he looks cool. Like they made him look.
He looked waxy. He looked so waxy.
Yeah, I mean, I know he's a hallucination because,
and also, he's her hallucination. Yeah. She doesn't know what he fucking looks like.
No, there's so much wrong with this, so much. And another thing that I have an issue with, and this goes through the majority of the movies, but more so in these later ones. You're shot in the stomach, you're stabbed in the stomach, you're shot again in the stomach, you've had a Bowie knife, depending on how you say it, in and twisted, and you're out of the hospital within half an hour with a bandage around your waist.
Yes.
Bending and moving around like everything's great.
Yes.
Your internal organs would be mush. Why are we just putting a band around it and going, oh, it's all right, don't worry, it should be
Well,
fine.
this is a trope in horror and also in American movies. If something tragic happens, you go to school the next day, you know. Your parent just died. You're going to school the next day. It's one of those things. I like to call it movie magic, but sometimes it can be movie madness. Whereas, because you're right, the amount of the beating that girl took, she wouldn't be able to fucking see, let alone walk out of a hospital or even roll in a fucking wheelchair.
When did Billy have enough time to have an affair on Sid to get Sam's mum pregnant to then go sleep with Sid? Was it sometime in between when Maureen died and Sydney decided to go celibate that he dipped his wick then? I mean,
I don't know. To this point, I generally don't fucking know. I honestly thought at one point it was going to be like it was an sperm bank baby donor, and I was like, oh Christ, okay. No, I don't like it.
This is the one where you found out though, and I don't know if you realise this. You find out that Sydney did actually marry Mark Kincaid from Number 3, and they've got 2 kids.
Is
together.
that who she married?
Yeah.
Oh my god!
So
I know she said Mark and the kids, but I didn't twig on that it was him.
Mark.
I've just kicked Uma Thurman. Sorry.
Every day you do that. Yeah.
I've got me big Kill Bill down here, and I've just booted her right in the face. Sorry, Uma.
But yeah, it's that bit where I was just like,
That
I like
we
it.
have seen that.
It would have been nice to have seen it.
It would have. And you know what? Kind of glad Sydney's not in Scream 6.
Because that is better than 5 by a mile.
Apart from the Scooby-Doo ending.
Oh, I hate a lot of things about this, but when you compare it to 5, I can't compare 5 and 6 to 1, 2, 3, and 4. They are 2 separate film franchises to me. This new one, whilst it has legacy characters, it's not the same.
No, but 6 was very much night and day. They corrected a few mistakes. The actress who played Sam Carpenter, she got some acting lessons because she did, because her delivery was so much better, so much more natural. She honestly looked like she was reading from a board in front of her. It was so wooden. There was nothing behind it. There was no true emotion. It was very, like I said, GCSE drama performance.
Yeah.
She really brought something to 6 where it felt natural. That's how she would react. That's how she would talk. I actually genuinely got on with this character during this movie. I fucking love the fact that Kirby came back. Genuinely like the fact that Kirby came back. Gutted they didn't use her in the way that they should have.
Yeah.
They should have been her. Should have been her.
I think for me, it was a tenuous link to the killers. Obviously, I liked the fact. To me, do you know what I originally thought when I saw the trailer? Because I try and stay away from them, but that one, because 5 was so bad, I thought.
I don't think you could have either. If you weren't seeing that museum scene on a trailer, you were seeing it in a picture somewhere.
To have all that memorabilia there, the murder memorabilia, I know is not cheap.
No.
That whole setup, I was thinking it's Gail. All the time through that trailer, I was like, Gail's finally lost it. This is Gail's collection.
That would make sense.
Because she wrote the books, because she was so deep in it at all times. You know, she was always tied back to Woodsboro because of the Maureen Prescott book. Yeah. And she even admits in one of them, I can't remember which film it is, even if it's this one, she said, it's all my fault. This would never have happened if I didn't write that book. So it's so tenuous, the fact that it was Richie's dad, Richie's brother, Richie's sister. So the whole family were a bunch of fucking weirdos. Nah.
It was such a Scooby-Doo ending. Right. It's like, I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for you. Pesky kids. I would have been more impressed if Kirby was the killer and she was suffering some major PTSD and it was like just something triggered in her and she just went fucking nuts. Wouldn't have made any sense, but I still would have loved it. I love the fact that Kirby was back and they used her in a really good way.
But they were the only two legacy characters. Well, I wouldn't even call Kirby a legacy character. I'd call Kirby a reoccurring character at this point because it was only number 2. But obviously Gale come back in this one. So Gale is in all 6.
Only one to be in all 6.
Yeah.
And do you know what? Because of what they did to Dewey in the last one, I wish they just went and did it with Gale, and just there we go. They're done. It's done and dusted. No more. We're not going to see these characters anymore.
Had there been a 7, I think it would have been Sam, because if you look at the end of 5 where she kills Richie, and then you look at the end of 6 where she kills Richie's dad, the enjoyment on her face from stabbing the shit out of the pair of them 247 times each, and having Daddy Dearest in her ear roll, I feel like that would have been the plan for 7. I feel like at some point they would have had her do something. But obviously there's
no connection anymore unless fucking Mummy Dearest comes out of the woodwork, and she's fucking the killer for that one, because Jesus Christ, that was such a family affair.
There's no reason or connection or way they can go from here unless they do bring back Mr. Stu Mocker.
Yes. It would be an interesting one. I really think on 6 they kind of did take a step back and go, fuck, 5 did not work out for us, because the kills were much more intense. The opening scene turns the first scene from Scream 1 on its arse.
That is the bit with Samara Weaving. You talk about that bit?
Yes, where you revealed, your killer's revealed. As soon as you who you think is your main star gets killed, which is the same thing that you've seen in 1, same thing you've seen in 2 with Jada Pinkett Smith. It's like not as to the degree of the first one, but it still has the same feel to it. And you think you're getting this with Samara Weaving, and then it's revealed that it's the kid from Spider-Man who is the killer. And when he walks into his apartment, and I saw a Last Podcast on the Left poster on his wall, I was like, yes, I am liking this. I went to the pictures to see this by myself. This was my first ever jaunt out to the cinema on my own, because I was seeing this movie. Like, I had that museum scene alone had me.
I didn't. I refused, because 5 was so bad. My brain was like, this can't be better.
That museum scene, I was like, I have to see, I have to know. Stu is going to be in that room, Dan.
Yeah, I was convinced. I mean, there's been 2 now, 2 of which they've had ample opportunity. Whilst I know technically he probably didn't survive the fact that he had been stabbed at least 3 or 4 times by Billy in some really bad places. He was bleeding out horrifically, and then he was electrocuted. I mean, the way you could look at it is that the electrocution could have kickstarted his heart, and he could have. You never saw them taking him out in a body bag. You never heard them mention that there was a kid in the front room that's got a TV on his head. Exactly. The only people that mentioned that was in number 6, where you've got the TV with the hole in it, which they use again to kill Richie's brother. Yeah. After he's been stabbed in the mouth. You know?
So the killers in this one is Quinn and Wayne Bailey and Ethan Landry. Ethan is the brother of Quinn, and Richie just uses a different surname to get around with Jenna Ortega's friends group. Just kind of had a feeling he's had something to do with this. There's something a bit dodgy about his face. It was just the reveal at the end of the killers was but the kills themselves were much more interesting than what they had been. Even going from Scream 4 up to now.
I will say 6 lost me when Ghostface took the gun, and Ghostface was using the gun in the convenience store at the beginning. I was like, that is not a Ghostface for me. No. Ghostface is a slasher. He owns a knife. He doesn't use a gun.
You are unmasked. So right. But that is a trait. That is a marksman of a fucking policeman. They were policeman shots. So it should have just screamed right there and then. But do you know what it is? It's almost like giving Batman a gun. Ghostface carries a knife. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not. You don't change their weapon.
They have guns when they've revealed themselves. when they demask from Ghostface, but you've never seen Ghostface hold up a gun to someone's head and shoot them
No,
as Ghostface up
no.
until that point. So
No.
doing it in a shop in the middle of New
Yeah.
York. I mean, come on now. This is another reason why it's just like
ridiculous. No, he's a slash and dash kind of person. I must say though, the masks in this one I actually liked.
well, yeah, because they were using the idea of, yeah.
It was evolution, and I did like the masks in this one. I just love that fucking. I want to go to that museum. If somebody doesn't in the next few years come up with that museum, I would be fucking shocked.
Mm-hmm. What do you think if they are to eventually do a 7, which I think they will? I think they'll just completely sack off the whole intention that they had moving on from 6. I think 7 is now going to be, because Neve Campbell's even said she'd do number 7.
Well, it was all about money, and the woman. The reason she didn't do 6 for is because the pay. The woman knows her worth.
Yeah,
she knows what she knows what she means to this franchise. She definitely did. She went in for what she wanted. She didn't get it. She walked away.
Yeah.
I doff my hat to you, lady.
She said she'd do 7. Stu said
Yeah.
he'd do 7. Courtney's still alive and kicking in the franchise, so she's there to do 7. I'm sure they could bring back some of the other characters somewhere down the line. You know that you've got enough.
Well, Jenna Ortega in there, that's a big definite no.
Oh, anybody from 5 and 6 are no, they're out. But when you look at 4 and the ability of some of the people that were in 4, there's a possibility of being able to bring some of those back, even though they would be like B-rated characters. So I don't know where they're going in 7. Where do you think they would go in 7?
In all honesty, I could generally see them completely and utterly retconning 5 and 6. To where it didn't exist at all. I think we're going to have another Halloween moment on our hands. Personally, I can see them taking out 4 as well, but that's just me wanting to. That's me just dreaming. I don't know, because it's like we've had the disgruntled boyfriend. We've had the disgruntled brother. We've had the disgruntled mother of the son of the woman who was cheated on. Where else can Sydney go? Who else could be really pissed off with Sydney Prescott? To me, she seems like a nice person. So I don't understand the amount of people who want to go out and kill her.
It's because of who she is and the legacy that she holds in the respect of. Even though it didn't all start with her, it all started with Maureen. Yeah, she's Maureen's daughter, therefore she's fair game. And then it became about Sydney, not Maureen anymore.
Yeah.
And
my brain can't fathom. My brain probably couldn't even fathom how they were going to do 3. So to think how they would do 7, I don't know. I really don't.
Because I know when Jenna and Melissa, whatever her name is, were on board, it was going to be Scream was in London. It was going to be based in London. And I'm like, what, are we doing a world tour now? Is it going to be Paris in 8 and bloody, I don't know, Dubai in 9? What are we doing here? Is it the Formula 1 fucking road trip or something?
Seriously, Ghostface, you don't have to come to London. It's all right. We're fine. Just stay over there. I generally don't know. It's because it doesn't matter what I think. It'll never be that. I want Stu to come back in a fucking blaze of glory.
What are your fan theories about him? What were your theories?
Oh, just how he was there, man. I generally thought he was going to either be orchestrating it or he was going to be the person behind it. I was more leaning towards the fact that he was orchestrating it all. Revenge. Pure fucking plain and simple revenge on a life taken, on, really bitter, using people as a pawn. Oh my God, I am describing Jigsaw. I have watched the Saw franchise far too much. I generally am just describing Jigsaw. But but Stu has just as good as reason in his psychotic mind. He's been done over. I mean, that's if he's alive or not. He's
Like I
alive.
say,
I'm just
it's
putting
one
it
of
out
those
there.
things.
Honestly, I'm going to stand on this one until they never ever make a Scream movie again. Until Matthew Lillard can't, I am still going to be screaming from the rooftops. Stu Marker is alive and well and kicking around in Woodsboro.
Because some arsehole put it on 6, didn't they? They hacked IMDb and put Matt Lillard in the credits, and everybody was so angry.
I was so
angry.
fucking. I remember that actually. I didn't realize until very much later it was a whole like hoax.
It was horrible.
I was so gullible. I was like, yes.
Right, I've got 2 questions to end up for you then. One of them is, what to you makes Ghostface as iconic as he is? Considering it's never been one person.
Even though it's never been one person, the premise is still the same, apart from using guns in 6. But essentially throughout the majority of it, the premise has been the same. The aesthetic has been the same. It is taken out 5 and 6 from 1 to 4, consistency. Even for somebody else who was playing this character, somebody else who was playing this role, the consistency throughout, you couldn't I can't really see much difference from the way Ghostface was in Scream 1 to how he was in Scream 4. How would you like that answer?
I do like it. I know that there's been something like 13, 14 stuntmen that have played Ghostface over the years.
Well, there's been 13 Ghostfaces. Ghostfaces.
Stuntmen.
So
I've got a list. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 17. There's been 17 stunt actors play Ghostface.
Let's change that to 18, because Wes Craven was one of them.
I do know that the knife wipe in the very first one was done with intention, because the stuntman knew if he wiped the knife clean, then they wouldn't have to worry about continuity.
See, like little things like that, and that does continue on throughout all.
And it's now a Ghostface trademark. The stand there, you see it in every movie. He stands there staring at him, wipes the knife clean. Yeah. And it's a thing that was done for continuity by the actor at the time, thinking it would help. But it's become an iconic movement for him.
I like consistency.
Yeah, for me, I think it's the premise of it could be anyone.
Yeah,
and I know with any mask it could be anybody under there, like Jason. Jason's supernatural because to an element he is. With
well, the fucker keeps coming back, so yeah.
With the shape with Michael Myers, you know Michael Myers is supernatural because again he just keeps coming back. Leatherface, he's not necessarily supernatural, but he's a man Hulk of a thing, and you know he's who he is, so you stay the hell away from him. There's no who is he kind of thing, you know.
I can hear myself in my own head going Leatherface.
But you know who he is. So
yeah,
all these masked killers you're getting in movies up until this point, you know who they are.
Yeah.
The thing about Ghostface is it could be anyone. Your best friend, your boyfriend, your mum, your dad, your gran, your nan, your uncle. You don't know. It's
oh my
anyone.
God, that would be so interesting. Stu Marker's Nana on a revenge trip. Oh my God.
Being a little wizzy cart.
Yeah. She's gonna slice and dice.
With her teeth. Yeah. Wind them up and let them go.
It has been such a long day.
Last question then. What is your order of the movies?
Oh, 1. Top. Always. Now this is going to change because I don't know what this film has done to me, and maybe I really don't, but I'm going to put 3 in second place. So 1, 3, 2, 6, 4, 5.
Right.
I don't know if I could say that again. Sorry. So 1, 3, 2, 6, 4, 5. There you go. Go on then.
1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 5.
I knew it. I don't even know
But
what I asked.
I used to be different. I used to be 1, 2, 4, 3, 6, 5.
Mhm.
Because I used to like 4 more than I like 3. But having done this rewatch, I actually didn't think 3 was as bad as I remembered it.
No, me
So
neither. And I don't know what it stuck with us.
yeah,
So when something like that sticks with us, I'm kind of like, oh God, like, do I like this more than what I thought I did? Am I just not liking it because everyone else doesn't like it? Like I watched it on Tuesday after I finished work because the first one, like I say, I've just stabbed my desk with my nail. How sharp's my nail? The first one is just that is something I could generally go and stick on right now in the background.
yeah.
I could perform a one-woman show of Scream. If anyone wants to see it, I could do it. I know that movie inside and out, back to front. Two, if I can get there, I will watch it after the first one, unless I would just go back and watch the first one again. Three, I never, it felt too much of a joke. You are taking the piss out of something that I have held in such high regard, but it's not really because it's following the same kind of motions and steps as what the first and second one did. It's just made it a little bit more lighter.
Plus it had Jay and Silent Bob in 3, so you know.
Well, yes, I have to keep remembering that Kevin Smith is in that movie
Yeah.
because I still get shocked to this day. But it makes sense. It actually does make sense because isn't it in Jay and Silent Bob? Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Yes. Yeah.
They're in Hollywood.
Connie Chung, motherfucker. With that fringe, yes, yes, I'm sure she looked every bit like Connie
I
Chung.
am so glad I kept that drink short and sweet because that was coming out of my fucking nose.
Oh, brilliant.
Oh my God, my eyes are
Yeah,
watering.
I mean, I will say for me, Ghostface has been in my life the most out of all the serial killers. From the age of 16 to the age of 44,
Yeah.
Ghostface has been in my life in one way, through movie after movie after movie. A lot of people grew up with Michael Myers. A lot of
Oh
people grew
no.
up with Leatherface. A lot of people grew up with Freddy. But for me, Ghostface has been the one that has been consistently there over time. So for the first movie, I have to say, I will never, whilst I get why people don't like the other films, the
Oh, I
first,
thought you were going to say the first one. I was going to be like,
no,
who?
for the other films, the first one will always be it set a precedent for a new era of movies that had never been done before.
It saved the genre.
Watching it with 2024 eyes, it seems old and tired because it's tropes. But for someone who was 16, 17, whatever age you were when it came out originally, it was like nothing you'd ever seen before because it was taking the piss out of everything. And for that, I thank Wes Craven.
You're 3 years older than me, right?
Yeah.
I was 13. He's been in my life since I was 13 years old. And I feel like he was mine.
Mm.
He
It's
was
weird.
mine because I saw him first. I saw because Michael had been out, Jason's already been out, Leatherface has already been out. He was my first iconic horror character. And you're right, he's been with us for a really long time. I don't want to see the end of him, but I would love to see something. I don't even know if it has to be the greatest written movie of all time. I just want to see something with a bit of fucking substance and a bit of fucking heart. Something that kind of goes back to the first one, not being just having the feel of the first one. Like we've mentioned numerous times, this movie saved a fucking franchise. It saved not a franchise, it saved a genre. That has to say something.
It does. I mean, you've got, like I say, it's going to take a lot. Those iconic directors, John Carpenter, Wes Craven, I could go on. All of those guys are gods among men when it comes to writing movies and casting them and having all the things that they have to do with them. I don't feel there is that many in today's horror market that have that same body of work in the sense of passion projects. I feel like it's money spinners. Like, I won't say the name, but you know who I'm talking about, who I hate with deep passion. That's a money making thing. That's not born out of love.
No.
And I
No,
feel
it's
like
not.
John's was born out of love because it was done on a shoestring with all his mates from college.
Yeah.
Wes's projects were because of that crazy guy that used to be outside the house, that used to walk down the road when he was growing up. You know, they were stories that they'd thought about and wrote since they were kids and brought to life. And there just doesn't seem to be anybody that has that same passion in the horror genre,
Yeah,
in my opinion.
No, and I totally agree with you. Horror has its times where so Scream saves the slasher genre. What do you get out of it? You get every fucking known slasher teen horror that can be done to the point of oversaturation. Then you get the gore element of horror. You get the Scream franchise, you get the likes of the Hostels, and once again,
yeah,
done to fucking death. You then get the James Wans of the world who will want to do nothing but jump scare you throughout a whole entire movie, and it gets done to fucking death. Horror is, if not consistent, when it comes down to let's just pile drive all these out, and then we'll hit a lull, and then something else will spark that ignition in horror, and I am waiting for that fucking spark.
I mean, to a degree, not to take away from people like Jordan Peele who are trying to do something different.
Yeah, you're right. I forget about Jordan Peele.
The thing about Jordan Peele is, though, he was a comedy guy. He did Peele and Key. That's what he was famous for.
Greatest fucking sketch show ever, mind.
Like, then he comes and swerves all the way over here and goes, actually, now I really like horror. Let's do some horrors.
There was
but that's
some
intellectual horror.
Yeah, there was some elements in his sketch shows that led into the fact that he was into horror. My most favorite sketch of theirs is the racist zombies.
I don't think I've seen that one.
It's the zombie apocalypse. Zombies everywhere. It's like fucking Walking Dead out there. And them two are just freaking the fuck out. It's like they need to get out of this street. They need to get out of this situation. And as they walk out of the walk onto the street, the zombies walk in the opposite direction. Racist zombies, but it takes them ages to figure out that, and they like they go around them to like get bitten, and these zombies are like backing away from them. So yeah, you're right. You are right. Jordan Peele is trying. And
I will say with James Wan, when he did his first movie, there wasn't anything so much like that, but then again they flogged that genre to death. But it wasn't reinventing a genre, it wasn't poking fun at a genre, it wasn't giving that life back into a certain type, that it was still of its time, but it was in a I think for me, there are directors, I take it back, Eli Roth does do a good job with his gore porn. That is what he's good at. He knows his Cabin Fevers, his Hostels, he knows what he's set out to do when he's going to make a movie. So
there's a really good horror TV show.
Yeah. Green Inferno's the more easier watch of Cannibal Holocaust, isn't it? So,
do you know what? There's one film in this world I will never go back and revisit, and it is that one right there. Why did I think I could do that movie?
I have no idea, Sammy. That is great. No, never something that you would ever do.
Nah, I tried. 10 minutes. 10 minutes and I went, don't know what he was doing there. 10 minutes now is like, nah, I can't do this. One, what am I going to do? What am I going to do when I see something that I don't want to see? It's going to be there forever. I don't want to see that. And then I texted my sister and I went, what do I do? And she was like, Sam, there's a scene with a turtle. I'm telling you now, no. So no, I will never, ever, ever do that. And maybe my little rant there just came out of a little bit frustration of like wanting, I don't know, just wanting something a bit more.
I still feel there isn't that one person that has just shown us all something that we've never seen before in that respect. But that's just my opinion, and you don't have to.
Again, these are our opinions, and it is nearly 11 o'clock on a Thursday night, and we have both been to work today, so you can forgive us if we're a little bit cranky. No, it's just me.
So on that note,
yeah, let's wrap this back. Have you got anything more? Because you've done so much work for this one.
I'm going to say no, because I mean, I probably could go on for hours about this because there's so many films, and it's such a, like I say, it's just such a comfort place for me. But no,
we've always got verses and kill counts. We can revisit Ghostface at not any time, but at some point. But next week, I am so looking forward to this next week's episode. I got really excited. I forgot my words there for a second. We are going down the B movie route. We are doing something that I can't believe it's taken this long for us to actually get on the list to do. We're doing one of my favorite movies of all time. It is Plan 9 from Outer Space. Fuck yeah. It is the Ed Wood D. Wood Jr.'s amazing, really badly done, amazingly badly, terrible, brilliant film. Once voted the worst movie of all time. Yeah, we are doing Plan 9 from Outer Space. It is going to be an interesting one. It is got a cast that would fill my fantasy death dinner table if I had the chance.
I can see why.
Yes. So that's going to be next week. Are you excited? I'm excited. I can't wait. Have you seen it before?
Yes, I've seen. I went through a phase of watching in the probably 2015. I went back and I watched every Universal Monsters movie I could remember. I went back and watched movies of those actors that they've been in other things. And I know I've seen Plan 9 from Outer Space back then. Yeah. But we're looking at almost 10 years ago now. So I can remember bits, but nothing concrete. So it'll be like watching it again with new eyes, I hope.
Oh, it has been some time since I've watched it. I'm gonna think that I probably got into it through the Tim Burton Ed Wood movie, if in all honesty. But I remember owning the coolest Plan 9 from my sister probably still has it. Plan 9 from Outer Space t-shirt. I thought I was the fucking shit.
We sell Plan 9 from Outer Space pin badges on our website.
Fucking didn't know that. So yes, next week, Plan 9 from Outer Space. You do not want to miss it. If you want to watch it, it is available on free platform services before we do our talk on it. We are on YouTube every Monday at 7 o'clock. Our audio goes up every Tuesday. You can find oh my god, I can't remember what I need to say. You can find the descriptions for Bleeding Marvel, or the links even for Bleeding Marvelous, Nerdy Up North, and Monsters Up North. If you can go and give Monsters Up North some love and attention on Instagram and TikTok, I would very much appreciate it. Also, if you're listening on audio and you like what you're listening to and you have any, thoughts and comments for us, please leave us a like, leave us a review, leave us a heart. It's a heart on
Spotify, it's a heart,
yeah. But please, it helps the algorithm, and it helps other monsters find us and listen to our content. Have we got anything else to say? No? Sure? Go.
Did you hear they found a liver in a mailbox?
It's time to say goodbye, Dan.
Leave her alone!
Say goodbye, Dan.
Bye.
Stay spooky, everyone. Bye.